Well, welcome back to the MPTS podcast hub. And I have to say, how very nice it is.
Thank you very much.
To be in the podcast hub with the man that made it.
Hey.
This is lovely. This is great. We should also thank ProAV, whose channel I believe we're being hosted on.
ProAV, Canon and Rode, I think we...
ladies and gentlemen, Guy Wilson from AKA Design. Where to begin? Let's not start here. Let's build back up to here. And we'll get to why it is that you find yourself building furniture specifically for those making podcasts. But what qualifies you to do that? Now, full disclosure, I've known Guy for 30 years or something.
25 years, maybe.
And we've worked on any number of interesting projects, generally, in the early days, building studios. My part of that was equipment. Your part of that was integrating that equipment and the people that used it into that environment. And I must have asked you this before at some point in the last 30 years, but how did that come about? What's your background? What's your origin story? How did you get into this?
A lot of people ask me. Weirdly, I did a degree in furniture design, which is always a bit of a surprise when you know. And then really, to cut a very long, it was a bit by chance. My first workshop was in Shoreditch. It was next to the Strongroom Studios.
Right.
And I got pulled into...
Got to know the neighbours, maybe.
Got to know the neighbours. Got asked to do some studio racks.
Right.
And at those point, recording studios looked like they were made out of, especially the furniture was made out of Meccano and sticky back plastic.
It's all entirely generic.
Horrible stuff. And so I was very lucky to work with Harris Grant in the early days. So we did the Hit Factory in New York, Criteria in Miami, Ichigo in Tokyo. So we did some great studios, and Townhouse and Olympic, and and then obviously back in the sort of early 90s when it all went a bit pop with the recording studios, we sort of did a little sidestep into post-production,
right,
which I loved.
I want to go back a bit though. I don't know whether you gave that chapter enough, right? Because Strongroom, you mentioned Strongroom being like the first kind of breakthrough client for you. You're taking your furniture design into this world of studios.
Yeah.
Because Strongroom, everyone knows as being, if you know your recording studios, as being something that looks cool. Which came first? Did it look cool and then they brought you in? Or did it not look cool till you got there?
Well, no. I mean, Jamie Reid obviously was the God Save the Queen artist that made Strongroom synonymous for that look. But one thing we've always done is I've always made sure it works first. Right. If it looks pretty but it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Right. So the form and function, and I got into CAD very early. I mean, I saw an invoice for my Apple. It was an Amstrad, which was like £2,500. My car cost 80 quid at the time. So, and it evolved from that, and really post was something that really did look. It had lots of clients. It was advertising. It was very sexy to get into, and in those days it was the sort of Tape Gallery, Saunders and Gordon, and I was very lucky to do Grand Centrals, Spice, all those kind of things. So it's right. It's sort of progressed from there, and then obviously as we do a lot of broadcast furniture. So the ethos is still that the function has to work, the equipment has to be in the right place, the sight lines have to work, the acoustics, also the politics of studios, where you place people. And the ergonomics. How the room works.
As one famous engineer always told me, there's two sets of knobs.
One on the front, one on the back.
But when you came into this, these environments, they've always been technical, as in there's a lot of technology at play, whether it's an edit suite, a recording studio, a broadcast gallery. There's an awful lot of, but it seemed to me that the balance back then was all about the lab. It looked like a lab.
They were labs. Well, they had so much
men in coats, and it was men.
You were given a equipment list on a fax that was about that long, and it was about placing all these little monitors and things in the right place. Obviously, that's changed.
Well, a couple of things changed. One is the gear got a lot smaller and less, or it got moved out to a machine room, and then suddenly people realised that the environment mattered.
Yeah,
and that the paying client. Particularly, we'll get into advertising in a second, because that's, I think, the pinnacle of that in a lot of ways. But the paying client matters and their comfort matters, because they can go to one of three places. Where do you want to spend the next week?
Sofa and the coffee, and you know where you sit in the room, and how it works. And I remember doing one edit suite. No, it was a linear suite. That's how long ago. And we had one linear suite with
vision mixers and machines.
Visions, but it had all the brand new kit in one suite, but in a bit of a sort of Titanic-esque kind of desk.
Right.
And the old kit, I built a new desk, and all the editors all the clients actually wanted to go in this studio because it just looks better. It looks more professional, and that's, you know, it's not the look. It's where you work and how it works ergonomically with you. And I've always ergonomics, especially with media furniture, is really important. Because you know, there's no editor out there that hasn't got a bad back, or you know, it's too far away, or things like that. Yeah, very close to the mic.
Well, these things, at the heart of what you do is that, right? These things are fundamentally opposing forces. We have to incorporate this equipment, and this has to be easy enough to reach at all times.
Yeah.
But so does that, and so does that. But that's a lot of staff. But also, we have to spend every waking hour of our day and then the odd night shift in this environment. So it can't be something that's bad for us. And it has to be somewhere that's a nice place to spend time.
I mean, we did have some in the sort of early 2000s. We had obviously space.
Yep.
Space? Is it called space? No.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting time. You're talking about the kind of advertising.
Yeah.
So the pinnacle of a lot of that. So you've got into, by this point, you've got into making studios look cool, but also still work correctly, and also accommodate the cables and the monitors and all the stuff that needs to go with them. And then a big thing happened, particularly, I think, sort of everywhere in the world, but particularly in Soho, particularly in London, which is the kind of the FM licenses and the explosion of radio advertising and the places it gave rise to. You mentioned Tape Gallery, you've mentioned Space, Swanson Gordon, Grand Central. Yeah. And these places placed an awful lot of importance in being really, really cool.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, those are the bronze speakers days, as I call them, where, you know, I was asked to, you know, design 10 sets of speakers for the studios. And that never happens anymore, which is a shame. But obviously, things move, budgets move. You know, the amount of money washing around in post is not what it was. And you have to be, you know, more efficient, and more, you know, you have to put more studios per square foot than you had to do before.
Yeah.
And you had to have the furniture to go. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be more uncomfortable. It doesn't have to look like you're in a battery farmy place.
Right.
So it's, as you say, you spend hours in these facilities. Hours and hours. So if you've got a desk, you know, just the rise and fall thing, you know, I mean, about 90% of all of the edit desks, not audio so much because there's still issues about going up and down.
Yeah.
But about 90% of all of the audio desks, the editing desks are all rise and fall. It's just a kind of...
Well, people are much more aware of the long-term effects of sitting down hunched over a keyboard.
Yeah.
And their lawyers are too.
Yeah. It is the law in many Scandinavian countries.
And we'll get to this, but we're getting to this via a certain route, which is, so after the kind of, some of the advertising specific places in the 90s, then into the post-production boom that followed.
Yeah.
And what got you into building kind of at scale? Because I remember when the farm opened in 1995, 6, they had like 8 rooms.
Yeah, Soho Square.
Yeah,
we had 8 rooms. Yeah.
And that was huge. 8 rooms.
It's lovely to bring up some people like the farm because you had relationships with clients. I mean, I built every piece of furniture for the farm and still do. Same as Envy. You know, I'm lucky enough. I don't take it for granted, but
look at the scale of that now.
But look at the scale.
Hundreds of rooms.
I know, hundreds and hundreds of rooms. Yeah.
And then that followed on, and you'd got to a point. It seemed to me that you got to a point where you'd kind of nailed the form and function and functionality of what an edit desk needs to be.
Yeah.
So all the various functions that are often in conflict around cable management, around ergonomics, around function that it needs, and around cost that it needs to occupy. And then you were able to kind of, as the Americans call it, productize that. And not everything was a bespoke Guy Wilson creation.
ProAV, you're probably better than, when was that? Was 2000. When did you
tell me, mate.
Well, no, you were selling the desks. Well, when did
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
I think ProAV was our first flat pack range.
Yeah, so you've been able to kind of productize things in a way
It was very hard to
reverse
send
engineered
things
them almost and made them into constituent parts that you could, here's all the screws you need, here's all the bits you need.
Yeah.
This is where we've got, this is the state of the art that we've got to through years and years and years of iteration.
Yeah.
This is what a brilliant edit desk.
Well, I think it was the CNC. I bought a CNC quite early on. And we've always, as I say, I've always been very hard. I mean, I used to have drawing boards,
Right.
But CAD meant that when they rang up a year later and said, have you got that drawing? You go, yes.
It's not like,
It's like, where is it? And it just revolutionized. Obviously, buying a CNC quite early, it meant that you could productize things. You could put style and curves into things without having to charge a premium for it.
right.
And that revolutionized it. So that the ProWave, when we launched it in San Francisco, we did their DigiDesign. No, was it Digi? It must be Avid.
DigiWorld.
DigiWorld.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Avid's audio division, who at that point were called DigiDesign still. Yeah, the Pro Tools guys.
And that changed everything, really. And then, and that ethos moved into our edit desks. So where we were really just concentrating on, UK,
Yeah.
it's completely worldwide now. I mean, about 50% of what we build now goes abroad.
And apart from the edit desks themselves, this is how we're getting onto this, right?
Yeah.
So by this point, you've established a way of productizing and producing at scale the end result of all that work. The end result of all that experience is the ultimate desk. And of course, at the same time, you were doing voiceover tables, but voiceover tables that were modular as well. So
Yes, for the BBC, I think the first time we were asked to do a single one that could go to different formats.
Yeah.
So if you needed it. And we took a lot of what we learnt, old school BBC, I'm sure you did the same. They taught you well. And without actually, yet again, without having to put extra cost in it, just you put all the features that they said, BBC used to write the manual before Netflix wrote the manual. And so the criteria of what it had to do. And, that's moved into everything we build.
right. And that I think gets us to this. So talk to us about podcast.
Well, podcasting is a really strange...
and actually, kind of why it exists.
Well, podcasting was... I came back. I was in India. I was on holiday, and my phone broke second week. And any other place in the world, I'd go, I've got no phone, help. I was in India. I didn't really care that much. I just thought, well, I won't have a phone for a week. And I came back, and I was, had the 300, 400 emails that you do when you go over 2 weeks. And I was getting a lot of podcast inquiries. I didn't really know what a podcast was. And they were, because they...
How long ago was this?
This must have been about 4 or 5 years ago when it first started.
So just post-COVID?
Just...
Or are you doing that COVID thing of not counting it?
I'm not counting COVID.
So it's 2018,
so it's actually,
19.
it's 7 years ago. And then I sort of started looking into this sort of new genre, as it were.
Yeah.
And again, it was. I've always been into media furniture. The lovely thing about doing media furniture, the technology moves a lot faster. The furniture is a desk. It's got 4 legs. You've got to sit at it. It doesn't move that quick. Whereas media drags it along, and there's always a slight vacuum behind it, where you have to, have you got something that fits this criteria? And you go, oh. So I kind of looked at it. We did a couple of podcast desks, and it went incredibly well. And then obviously, as always, they say, have you got a 2-seater? Have you got a 4-seater? Have you got a 6-seater? Have you got a presentation? Have you got one for sofas? So all these extra bits that needed to be done. And now we have a range of 9 podcast desks.
So the range comprises what? You have a modularity to it, presumably?
It's different styles for different types of podcasts. So, I mean, this is a V4, it's a 4-seater, mostly used as a 3-seater because obviously the camera comes in from one end. And then we have a V1 for 1, V3 for 3, V6 for 6. So see where I'm going with this. But then you have the more presentation desks. People don't want to see your legs on
more
TV.
of a kind of newscast desk.
Very much so. That's a new one called a Pro Host, and that yet again is modular, so you can go 2, 4, 6, 8. And
panelists,
you can go full, news night.
Yeah.
And yet again, it's always on casters. It's always got good cable management. It always has a central mic where any mic arm can fit on it, so it's not specific to any brand.
Well, this is it. This is the thread that runs through all the stuff that you make. Yeah, it looks cool, but there's a thought and a purpose behind all of it, right? So this is where all my mic stands are going to clamp, right? So I could have none.
Yellowtape,
1,
Rode,
2, 3.
Shit,
yeah,
said Rode, shit.
Rode, of course, yes, and the Canon C50 selects on the camera.
Yeah, yes.
We've said it now. Yeah. And we mentioned ProAV, of course, and AKA. Right?
We have done that.
So your telescopic mic arms live in here, your cable management all lives in here, your headphones all live in here.
You've got a headphone holder. You've got things like important things. Podcasting is not fixed.
And soft surfaces, acoustically.
Very much
so. Not have shiny, bouncy.
It's. Yeah. I probably did it, but you don't bang your watch or your ring against the floor, and you stops the reverb from them.
Yeah.
But really importantly, they're all mobile. Because podcast studios most of them aren't fixed pieces. So they might have, client comes in, I want a sofa one. We've just done our Pro Voice Mini, which is the little one that goes between sofas.
Like a coffee table kind of. I've seen that, yeah. So if you have one of those kind of one-to-ones with 2 tub chairs.
Yes.
There's a nice little...
So rather than getting a terrible little coffee table and put
that can accommodate the mic stands.
Falls over and you see all the wires.
Brilliant. I've seen that, yeah. That's
so it actually is like a miniature version of one of these desks. And yet again, they're flat pack.
But you must have done well with it because I see them a lot, right? So, and this is the thing, because when you started doing it, the first inquiries you had when you came back from India about people doing podcasts, part of you must have thought, well, that's an audio medium. I mean, I get that you want something great to sit at and do your interviews because your guest's going to see it.
Yeah.
If you've got people coming in for corporates or for anything where it needs to look the part for the guest. It can't be in your bedroom or your garage.
Weirdly, banking had actually been doing their version of podcast for years because they do internal comms.
Audio bulletins, yeah.
So if someone's coming here to our interest rates, they'll do it. Yeah. But it really has, as you say, it's really changed now, and it's all sectors. As I said, 50% of all the desks podcast desks go to the States.
Right.
And if you're solicitors or a roofing or a car sales, you'll have a podcast.
But once upon a time, when you first started doing it, it was kind of, strikes me that it was kind of not a luxury because you still want to look the part and work properly. But then the big change in the last couple of years has been the move towards, whether you call it VizPods or vodcasts or whatever. Now everyone, I guess because they want to be on YouTube, as we are right now.
Well, you have to be, yes.
And I guess because also, even if you're not, you want to clip it up for TikTok. You want to bring an audience to it by little
No, seconds. I mean, for me, it was great. Obviously, lots of podcasts were kitchen table based even. And, but corporates and any brand wants to have something a bit different. So when and the vodcasting meant you had to have low profile mics, you had to look stuffing. I mean, today, really, this is about technology. But normally you would have a set dress behind you. And some key headshots. I mean, the Guardian we did end of last year they've got some fantastic podcasts, many thousands of listeners, but they couldn't really monetize it because it wasn't on YouTube. So we've just changed it all. And
that's your distribution channel right there, right? We've got all the obvious where you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
But you've also got where you watch your video, and you've also got where you bring an audience to it from. So that's TikTok. Right? Or that's Instagram. That's a visual medium.
TikTok's a new one. I have designed some TikTok desks because it's all a bit strange, because obviously it's in a very strange format.
It's all about portrait.
And it's very portrait, but all that's all got parts and flicks and stuff, and all that's got comments.
Yeah, of course.
So in fact, it's actually a really small bit. And if you're presenting sort of cosmetics or anything like that, the desk has to go up and down because you have your brand or your
has to accommodate the
right spot.
Paymasters, right?
Exactly.
Someone needs their logo on that to monetize.
But we've also found a lot of colleges that used to have. We've done a lot of colleges because they used to have a radio and a TV, and they're just going, why don't we just combine it to have a podcast? So,
and how much trial and error was that for you? I mean, what things did you try that didn't work? What things did you try that you thought
it wasn't as bad as lots of the things I've tried before? Because I didn't try to reinvent the wheel. It was just getting the right pieces in the right place.
Yeah.
Also making sure. I mean, this desk, for instance, is completely flat pack, but been designed to go in a 4 foot by 4 foot by 2 foot box.
Right.
So you have to sign them so that that they could be shipped, because obviously that's half a pallet.
Simple to ship.
If it was 4'1", that's a whole pallet.
Yeah.
So it's a lot cheaper to ship.
Because I guess, and you've mentioned a couple of clients. I don't know how many of your clients you're able to name drop, but you should if you can.
I mean, in the last couple of years, we've been very lucky. We've done Spotify. We've done 2 recently for Amazon.
Right.
We've done Google. And the list goes on. I mean, we've done some really nice.
And for the most part, these are for their internal.
Lots of them are ESPN. Lots of we also. There's always going to be a client that goes, "That's nice. What I want." Yes. So we do because we're a half a product house, half a custom house. We always have.
Yeah.
So everything gets built in North London. So we can, if someone wants ESPN or Amazon wanted their own look and their own brand, and they have their branding police that go behind it. So we can accommodate that and send that as well. So and I do like the custom size because it does push things along. Yeah. Where the products then can sort of go, oh, that's a good idea, but how can we make that easier and cheaper?
Are the trends changing? Are people wanting different things than they were 5 years ago? Or?
I think people are realising what they want more. I think the idea of having one desk in a studio is changing, because if you're doing commercial studio, then you might want 2 sofas and the smaller.
They reconfigure for different.
And so as you say, you flick this up, leave the mics on it, just wheels into the corner of the studio, and then you bring the next set. So because you'll have 2 or 3. And for branding, we've inset monitors into the front, so you can easily flip over if you've got multiple brands. Which that's we've done the London Stock Exchange recently. Had a couple of desks there. Lots of them have to be modular sometimes to get them moving out of the studio when there's something else.
Well, you might have several different strands of channel recording in the same day that are all piece to camera, 2-header, 3-header panel.
Tileyard they've got they've really invested into their podcasts. We've done Tileyard London and Tileyard North, and I think they're some of the best podcast studios there are. Right. And commercial ones for brands to come in.
That's and beyond the furniture, we've spoken about the range of desks. Have you gotten involved, as you have done in the past, with the overall aesthetic of rooms?
Well, we offer a free design service for a layout service. Let's get that right. So lots of clients send us their room plan.
Right.
They have sometimes give me your room. How many people do you want?
And where are the cameras as well?
Well, no, not really, because they don't know that.
Okay, yeah.
In a way, because sometimes we're, I do find that there's not as many dedicated. There's no one you can Google go and help me set up a podcast. I'm sure there are, but it's something that we help them lay it out. It gives them a physical, because then they go to the CEO and go, look, there's that office that we're not using. Here's a podcast in it. Why don't we do that? And then, as I say, we partner up with. We don't do anything technical. We never have.
You have to accommodate those technical things, and you do that really well.
You have to have a knowledge about the technical.
Yeah. You know where they fit in the overall scheme of things, and where you fit, and how those two dovetail.
Yeah.
To use a carpentry term.
Yes.
I thought you'd like that.
Nicely. You dovetailed that in nicely.
Chuck a little joint in there. Now, before I think we've probably got another minute or 2 left. A question I wanted to ask you, which is, let's say everything you've ever created, because you've done some amazing stuff, and I've seen some amazing examples of your work down the years. Everything you've ever done is in a warehouse, and that warehouse is on fire. Wow. You get told you've got enough time to get in there and rescue, and it's heartbreaking, because everything you've ever made is going to be
one of the most
consigned to ash.
The most heartbreaking we did.
What's the one thing you'd go and rescue if you could?
At Sultan of Brunei, we built the biggest studio desk we've ever done.
Right.
And it had solid wood. It was inset. It was just beautiful, curved racks. Sadly, it was never actually put into the studio because it all went pop before it did.
Right.
It's very hard. I got paid for it. It wasn't the worst thing, but it's like having
So there probably still is in a warehouse.
It probably still rotting away somewhere.
It may even be on fire.
It could be. But there's a couple of things at college that I made that I've still got that I might go in there and grab.
You're cheating now. You could have listing staff. I'd say one.
One? Oh, it'd be the pictures of my daughters.
No, there's some bits of furniture.
I know, I'm joking.
Last question then. If I'm in the market, I need to put out a podcast studio, build it out, make it good. Where can I find out more about these magnificent pieces of furniture?
That, Ben. Well, AKA Design. And to be honest, hopefully...
.com. Just checking. AKAdesign.com, you say.
Right. And, but if you put podcast desk or podcast table, we should be number 1.
Get you with your SEO.
Who knew? Well, that's all changed, as you know. We are doing a new e-commerce site, which will be launched the end of this month.
Right.
So that'll be a new thing for us.
So that's where listeners should go immediately.
Well, then chat will actually, chat won't tell you anywhere to go if you can't buy it.
Fabulous. Well, Guy, thank you for joining us on the MPTS
thank you, Ben. That's been an absolute pleasure,
podcast
mate.
channel, hosted by ProAV and sponsored by Canon Rode and AKA
And
Design.
AKA Design. Thanks, pleasure, mate. Cheers.